Gaming Manual.
Hey everyone, this is Josh from the Gaming Manual. Today, I will be taking a look at Cobra Triangle for the NES, a personal favorite of mine. It's an action-packed racing and combat game kind of all mixed into one. Cobra Triangle is one of those rare video games that no one really talked about when it was first released. Even lesser-known games like Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street were more well-known to me. It's unfortunate because Cobra Triangle is easily within the top 1% of the must-play games, or so I feel. Truth be told, I did not even know that Cobra Triangle existed until Jason asked me if I had ever played it back in 2015. At the time, Jason and I were talking about games that felt like a treasure trove from our childhood. A secret game that no one else really seemed to know about. This name alone grabbed my attention because of these variable level concepts that sounded great, because a lot of these games at the time were pretty stagnant or rigid in how their playstyle was done. Whether we are racing against opponents, rescuing swimmers, or battling bosses, making each section feel different with just the objective that you are given actually helps complete everything feel fresh, even when you're replaying it. Furthermore, the game consists of 25 stages in total, but they're each divided into different playstyles. Each one, on its own, could have been a strong game, but I think mixing them up the way they did really helped keep it from getting stale or feeling overdone. You control an armed speedboat from an isometric perspective. The B button accelerates the boat forward, and the A button fires your weapons. The steering, however, is controlled with the D-pad, with the left turning the boat clockwise and the right turning the boat counterclockwise. The up and down button don't directly control the boat, like you might expect. You can jump over obstacles, get weapon upgrades, and have a fun time with this game. However, the controls do have a bit of a learning curve, since there is a slight drift to them, almost like you're handling a real boat, so don't expect your first run to be smooth sailing. The music for Cobra Triangle isn't really anything that stands out, but has a very distinct arcade sound to it, especially its title screen. I mean, just take a listen. As for the rest of the levels, they'll have a decent soundtrack as well. But again, the sound effects tend to drown out some of the music at times, or you're more focused on trying to avoid obstacles. You don't really hear the music. All in all, decent music, but like I said, for me personally, there was nothing too memorable, but it does remind me of the arcade. There are 25 levels, divided into various mission types, rather than a traditional linear racing game. In Race to the Finish, players are racing along a river, avoiding hazards, shooting enemies, and most importantly, collecting those power pods, since this is one of the two mission types where you can collect these items. The goal is to reach the finish line, but there are two levels that have a fork in the road that you'll come across. First one is in level 1, and the second is in level 9. Going left or right will change the order of the levels that are coming up after it. This makes for 4 different paths that you can take. Overall, it is the same 25 levels, but it does help add replay value by feeling different enough that each one is one you're going to want to try to find out which one is best for you. When we have to dispose of the mines, the players must grab these floating mines and carry them to a designated disposal area, while avoiding the enemy fire from the shore and having boats that are ramming into you trying to steal back that mine. Turbo power can make most of these levels trivial, as the enemy boats only chase you while you have the mine, making for the heavy firepower not as relevant. Save the swimmers. Swimmers appear in the water, and the players must protect them from the enemy boats and UFOs trying to abduct them. Oddly enough, I find it's easier just to camp out in one spot. Not the most engaging, but I find it personally hard trying to chase after the boats without losing another person in the process, leading to a very fast game over. Having homing missiles or the spread gun helps out a lot here, since in these levels you have to wait out the timer, and you have to have at least one swimmer stay safe. Survival missions. You must survive waves of enemies dodging enemy fires from the shores, whirlpools, and other obstacles for a set amount of distance from the starting point. To me, this feels to be the most traditional level, but very hectic, as there's always something you have to watch out for. Whether it's logs or icebergs, you don't have time to really sit around and wait, so you're going to need some good reflexes to make it through these ones. Waterfalls. The less I say about this level, the better. This waterfall level is very frustrating, as it has these currents that will push one way or the other. At first it pushes against you, but if you accelerate too much, it'll push you forward and right into instant death. You really have to make these jumps, otherwise you're just throwing lives away over and over again. It is the quickest way to get a game over, from my experience. This could have been a fun level, but it was during a time when you could rent video games, so they typically had difficulty spikes to try to slow down renters. The boss battles. You have to fight off against these giant bosses, like a giant crab or a sea serpent, a Cobra Triangle if you will, or even Cobra in triangle formation. G.I. Joe reference. These fights require dodging attacks and strategically trying to fire at weak points that you find, or you can just use brute force by sitting in the corner like I am and spamming the fire button. Throwing everything you have at the boss using a turbo controller really makes this a lot easier. And if you don't have a turbo controller, I recommend it for this game. Power-ups and upgrades. You can collect power-up pods that enhance the boat's abilities. Speed. This will increase the top speed of your boat. Turbo. This will increase your acceleration. Fire. Changes the style of your gunfire. Personally, I like the spread fire. Missile. Give you a powerful missile. The last missile upgrade will give you a homing ability. And finally, Force. This gives you temporary invincibility. The hazards. This game is filled with all sorts of environmental dangers and enemies, such as whirlpools which can drag you off course and slam you into your destruction. You have enemy boats. I assume these are rival boats. Who knows? Gun turrets. These stationary defenses fire at you from the shore. UFO. It flies around in the air and can attack you, and if you get hit, it stuns you. Overall difficulty. Limited continues can make the game difficult for beginners, but there are plenty of extra lives spread throughout, and it really captures the arcade feeling, as losing all of your continues results in a game over. But you get to put your initials on the high scoreboard, if you did well enough. Levels increase in complexity, requiring precise navigation and quick reflexes. But you do have some minor control over how you choose which path you take in levels 1 and 9 when you take the fork. This does not change the actual difficulty of the levels, it just changes the orders that you find them. It can result in sort of a placebo effect of thinking one path is easier simply because you're more used to taking it. The bonus levels. These are technically levels, such as Collect the Pods, the second level where you can collect the bonus items for upgrades, and Shooting the Targets. If you manage to shoot all the targets, you'll get an extra life. Neither of these games can really be lost unless you run into the walls and take damage, so they feel more like bonus levels than actual standalone levels. This is Josh from the Gaming Manual. If you like what you saw, hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Let us know of your opinion of the game in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next video.
Gaming Manual.
I'm a computer. Stop all the downloading.